Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Stephen Covey wrote that one sentence, and it quietly dismantles the story most of us have been living by. The story that says our peace depends on how other people behave. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was written decades ago, but it holds a precise mirror up to the exact exhaustion people carry today. The giving until empty, the slow disappearance into everyone else's needs, the creeping feeling that you are managing your life rather than living it. Here are the 5 most important lessons from the book, and why each one cuts straight to the bone. Lesson 1. Your circumstances do not get to dictate your emotional reality. A man came to Covey at a seminar looking completely hollowed out. His marriage had gone flat. He felt nothing for his wife. They were constantly fighting, and he wanted to know what to do when the feeling of love was simply gone. He expected complex psychological advice, or perhaps permission to walk away. Covey told him to love her. The man pushed back, frustrated. Covey was not hearing him. The feeling was dead. Covey was calm. Love is a verb. The feeling of love is the fruit of love, the verb, of loving actions. So love her, sacrifice, listen to her, empathize, appreciate, affirm her. You do not wait for the feeling to justify the action. The action is how the feeling returns. This matters because most of us have handed the remote control to our emotional state to anyone who walks into the room. A careless comment from a coworker, a heavy sigh from a partner, the chaotic mood of someone else, and the whole day is derailed. We wait for the weather outside to clear before we allow ourselves to feel okay inside. But Covey is pointing to something more radical. You are the architect of your inner state, not a passive recipient of it. The sentence to carry: I am the sole architect of my emotional responses. Lesson 2. You have to define what your life means before someone else defines it for you. Covey asks you to imagine walking into a funeral parlor. The soft murmur of voices, quiet music, flowers. You walk down the aisle and look into the open casket, and you are looking at your own face. This is your funeral, 3 years from now. You sit in the front row. 4 people are going to speak. 1 is from your immediate family. 1 is a close friend. 1 is a colleague. 1 is from your community. Covey asks, what do you actually want each of them to say? Not what you hope they would be polite enough to say. What do you want them to have witnessed in you, in the life you actually lived? This matters because most of us are so consumed by reacting to the immediate demands placed in front of us that we never stop to ask whether the ladder we are climbing is leaning against the right wall. Management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. Leadership determines whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. The visualization is not a morbid exercise. It is the most clarifying question you can ask yourself. What do I actually want my life to have been? Begin every day knowing how you want your story to end. Lesson 3. If you do not deliberately protect time for what matters, you will spend your entire life in other people's emergencies. Covey tells the story of a shopping center manager drowning in chaos. Ringing phones, furious tenants, last-minute reports, endless meetings. He knew the one thing that would actually transform his business was building real relationships with the individual store owners. But it was never urgent enough to fight for time, until he drew a hard line, blocked off a large portion of his week, ignored the ringing phones, and simply walked the floor. He listened. He asked questions. He stayed unhurried. The result was a dramatic increase in revenue, a steep drop in tenant turnover, and a complete shift in his own stress. Not because he worked harder, because he stopped letting the loud drown out the important. Most of us spend too much time on what is urgent and not enough time on what is important. This matters because your truest priorities, your health, your real relationships, the work that actually means something to you, will never scream at you like a ringing phone. They will wait quietly while the emergencies pile up until you look up and realize years have passed. The deck never clears on its own. You have to clear it deliberately. The sentence to carry: guard your vital priorities as if your life depends on it, because it does. Lesson 4. You do not have to shrink yourself for others to succeed, and you do not have to defeat anyone to win. A company president brought Covey in to fix a systemic collapse of cooperation among his managers. They were hoarding information, refusing to collaborate, completely unable to function as a team. The president was exasperated. But when Covey walked into his office, he saw a poster hanging right behind the desk. A racetrack, horses at the starting gate, advertising an upcoming sales competition, where one winner would take an all-expenses-paid trip to Bermuda. The president was begging for teamwork, while his entire reward structure incentivized employees to destroy each other. He was operating from a scarcity mindset. One pie, finite slices. Someone else's gain means your loss. This matters because that same scarcity mindset is embedded in how most of us move through the world. We see someone else's success and feel the quiet pang of inadequacy. We shrink our own ambitions so we do not seem threatening. We judge others to make ourselves feel slightly taller. But Covey is clear. Seeking a win for all is ultimately a better long-term resolution than if only one person gets their way. Another person burning brightly does not dim your light. There is room. The sentence to carry: there is always enough room at the table for me to thrive without pushing anyone else out of their chair. Lesson 5. Real connection only happens when you stop projecting your own experience onto someone else and actually enter theirs. Covey went to see an optometrist about some trouble with his vision. After listening for a few seconds, the doctor reached up, took off his own glasses, and handed them across the desk. These glasses had worked brilliantly for him for 10 years, he said. Just put them on. Covey put them on. Everything was distorted and blurry. He said so. The doctor got defensive. They work perfectly for me. Just try harder. Be more positive. The absurdity is obvious. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They are already formulating the response, already measuring the other person's situation against their own experience, already reaching for the prescription before they have understood the diagnosis. This matters because most of us have been on the receiving end of someone handing us their glasses. You try to share something painful, and before you finish the sentence, someone is telling you about the time they went through the same thing, or firing off 5 solutions. You leave feeling more alone than before. And if we are honest, we do this too. Because sitting in someone else's unresolved pain without trying to fix it is genuinely uncomfortable. Real listening means creating a space where someone can empty their heart before you offer a single map out. The sentence to carry: listen to understand the heart, not just to reply with your mind. Here is what most people misread about this book. They see it as a productivity manual, a checklist for high achievers who want to get more done. They miss the deeper architecture entirely. What Covey is actually building, habit by habit, is a person who is whole enough on the inside that they no longer need external conditions to be perfect in order to feel okay. The proactivity, the clarity of values, the protected priorities, the abundance mindset, the deep listening. None of these are productivity hacks. They are the quiet daily work of becoming secure enough within yourself that you can finally choose to show up for others from genuine love and strength rather than from exhausted obligation or the desperate need to be needed. Until a person can say deeply and honestly, "I am what I am today because of the choices I made yesterday," that person cannot say, "I choose otherwise." That is the revolution the book is really offering. Not a better schedule, a reclaimed life.